us to say, so we'll go ahead and get started. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now, that's always a little bit awkward, but I do appreciate everybody getting a chance to say it. All right. We had no public comment or emails sent into us for the meeting tonight. And just in case there are folks watching live on YouTube, if you wish to address or provide any comments or feedback to the board, we do have an email address that's posted on our website. And when you use that, it comes directly to all of the board together. And so we will get that comment if you'd like to submit it electronically that way. All right, the next item for us is to approve the agenda. So I need a motion.
I move to approve the agenda.
I'll second that.
Great. Any discussions on the agenda? If not, raise your hand in front of the camera so I can count and make sure we got everybody. Okay, that is everyone. That's unanimous. Thank you. All right, moving on to the consent agenda. I need a motion for that.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
A second.
Great. All in favor, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3. That is unanimous. Thank you. All right. As I mentioned earlier, I didn't expect a student representative to log on with all of the cases. Some of our leadership folks may actually be out sick. Oh, nope. Nope, we don't have one. Sorry, I just saw one connecting, so I wanted to make sure that was not the student representative. So we'll move on to Tony. Tony, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Lacey.
Yeah.
My voice is a little off here, so I'm going to try to see
That's
if I
okay.
I've got some water by me. First of all, I was going to introduce Sherry Durst-Higgins, our board member who's here, but seems to be already well known, so I don't know if I need to introduce her. But Sherry, if you got a few words you'd like to say before I hog the floor, feel free to jump in right now.
I've always enjoyed coming to Creswell's meetings because it feels like, you know, we're not only neighbors, but we're friends and we're partners, and we even get to see Mr. Johnson once in a while. So anyway, I miss you guys. Thank you for all that you do. And January is board appreciation. So I appreciate Creswell School Board.
Thanks, Sherry. What I'm going to do is just give a little overview of our local service plan. We tend to visit annually. Some of our board members visit a little more. Sherry's probably around a little more. But we tend to visit when we are kind of giving a review of our local service plan, which every education service district in the state needs to get approved by the superintendents of our component districts, as well as our school boards in our region. In this current local service plan, we're actually in the second, or we're actually asking you to approve the second year. We're in the first year of a 2-year plan. Next year would be the second year, and the votes for next year. So there aren't really a lot of changes between what we're offering this year and what we're offering next year. The one thing that is a slight change is we're trying to stack up a little bit more E-rate support for our districts than what we've been doing, knowing that in the technology realm, there's an opportunity to recoup a pretty sizable amount of money, and sometimes in smaller and middle-sized districts, the effort to get there is just difficult to find the right people to do it. So our tech folks are looking to stand that up. Other than that, the biggest area of service that we probably provide for Creswell School District is in our special ed realm. Quite a few life skills students coming from Creswell to our programs, and of course, 2 of them being run right here in your district at Crest Lane and Creswell Middle. The other thing, I guess, of note is in the school improvement realm, and this is new in the last couple of years, in that districts get from ESDs support for the Student Success Act, your student investment account. And I want to give a shout out. She's not here, but Mike knows her, Sue Wilson, and the work she does to provide services in that realm. The one area that's coming, this is not part of the local service plan, but I want to put this on your radar. ODE has kind of tapped ESDs on the shoulder for another task, and this one's one that I think superintendents and school districts have been asking about for a long time. And that is to consolidate, to integrate all of the reporting that needs to be done. There was a time when, as superintendents, we were advocating for fewer mandates because all it meant is more reporting. But what happens is funds come with these state mandates, and when funds come and they come in separate buckets, there has to be accountability. So you got to do a report for every single string of money that comes in. What the ESD is going to be doing with some guidance from ODE is assisting our middle and small size districts specifically in integrating those plans so that they can be written in a much more streamlined fashion. That's something again we've been asking for, and it's not going to happen probably until probably partway through the 23-24 school year. We're a little ways off from getting that aligned. Till then, though, we're going to do what we can to still provide those services in those areas, including CTE, where of note, four programs now in Creswell, and finding ways to see if we can regionalize some of the things we do in CTE. It's been difficult during the pandemic, but we hope to still put that feasibility study to work here fairly soon. Other than that, it's this plan's been approved by the Superintendent Council. It's been approved by the Lane Education Service Board or Service District Board, and we ask our component school districts to take a vote on it by March of this year. And so it could be tonight or it could be at your next meeting, but that's pretty much the summary. So if there's any questions you have, I'd be glad to field them tonight. Or if not tonight, also anytime you have a question, feel free to run it through Mike and I'd be glad to answer. But anything tonight.
Any questions for Tony? Tony, when I was skimming through the plan, I saw that there was a mention for a behavior assistance fund. And I was wondering, I mean, I'm sure that was in place prior to the pandemic. It stuck out to me just because of like when you visit with teachers or anything as a result of all the trauma that kids have been through with school in, school out. Now it's virtual. Now they have to quarantine. So the behavior in the school is just a lot more erratic. Is there a need to increase the fund to help with that? Like, is there a relation to what that fund is titled as and what I hear from teachers?
Yes, there's supposed to be. The issue, I in terms of increasing the fund, not now. Right now, what we need to do is find appropriate things to spend that money on. I think that's more of a challenge. We have a pool of money there as a resource. If districts have something that they're doing that's innovative, they can tap into that fund. There just hasn't been as much of that innovation to find it. What's also happened kind of just before the pandemic and it's carried over into the pandemic is that as part of the Student Success Act, there are, as we looked at what districts needed to support their plans, in the area of social emotional learning, that seemed to be a real big area. So the ESD now has two kind of social emotional learning specialists that have already started working with some of our small districts. They just came on board this year, and we'll continue working with districts. Our superintendents, not all of them have been introduced to Daniel Gallo or Angela Hilo yet, but they will be at our we're kind of delayed with our superintendent meetings. We didn't get one in December because we had a snow day, but we will be probably meeting with them in February to talk more about some supports they can give. Right now, they're supplying some supports to Mapleton and to Marcola. And you mentioned student support, but what we're noticing in some of these districts is that the staff right now is a little out of kilter as well, just with trying to do all the things that they're supposed to do. The idea is to see if we can center the adults a little bit in those two districts and see if that has a better effect on students. But there also is an attempt there are several pots of money that are out there. I know some of the CCOs, Pacific Source and Trillium, have some money to put in youth behavior and youth mental health seem to be a big kind of where that money is supposed to go. It's just that there's different pockets of money. It's not coordinated. So that's another thing Daniel and Angela are going to be working to do, is see if we can tie some of those things together with Lane County Public Health. We've got services here and there. We just don't have a comprehensive service. One of the things that is coming, though, that will address one really scary part of mental health is in the suicide prevention realm. There's sources of strength that the Bethel School District has done for a while, which is kind of peer-to-peer support to get kids through some tough times. That's coming from as a partnership with Lane County Public Health and again our SEL specialists too. So hopefully that'll be rolled out. The problem is that doesn't work well. It didn't work well in a Zoom environment. That works well in person, and so it stalled last year and still needs to get off the ground. So Lacey, I say we don't need more money. We need a appropriate some acute plans to where to direct that money toward.
I see. Thank you for that explanation. That helped me understand a little bit more about that. Any other questions for Tony? Okay, then I think what we need to do is approve year 2 of the local service plan. So I need a motion on the table for that.
I move to approve year 2 of the local service plan, Lane ESD.
I'll second that.
Great, thank you. Any discussions on that motion? Okay.
I've been-
all in-
I
Oh,
see
yeah,
it.
go ahead, Mike. Go, Mike.
Yeah, I've been going to the Lane ESD meetings for quite a few years now, and with Tony on board, it is very well run. He really does a good job, and he's got a lot of help on the board. And I look at it like we're customers, and they really, I think, really do a good job for us. The only bad thing, they make me speak when I go, and I don't like to talk in front of crowds, but they really do, I think, do a really good job. They always have a presentation from one of the teachers in the group about how they handle kids with different issues. And some of the things I've seen is unbelievable. They really, they're doing a good job.
Thanks, Mike. We appreciate your willingness to come and be part of our meetings and volunteer to do that. That's been strong. I think Creswell's had that presence with us, so we really appreciate that connection.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, all in favor, raise your right hand. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, all right, that's it. Yeah, you're good. Okay, that is unanimous. All right, I'm just switching my screens to get back to my agenda so I can see what is next. All right, thank you. Tony and Sherry, you're welcome to stay on with us, but you're also welcome to get to the rest of your evening if you'd like. A little extra sleep this week probably isn't a bad thing. So feel free to log off. You won't be hurting our feelings a bit.
Thanks. I am. I had my booster yesterday. For some reason, I'm a little bit tired today. Yeah.
I told you.
I know, Mike. I told Mike yesterday. I felt great. Had no issues. He was right. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. It's nice to
Take
see
care,
you, Tony.
Tony. You take care.
All right. Okay, next on our agenda is a discussion about inter-district transfer caps. Mike, do you want to kick that off for us?
Yeah, sure. So annually, I'm to inform the board on what we're going to do with our inter-district transfers. And since I've come aboard, we haven't set caps on inter-district transfers, but we have set a time limit. So beginning of the second semester is when we stop accepting transfers in to the district. So all through the first semester, we'll accept transfers and we have no caps on those.
Okay. And so what you're asking is, do we want to change that practice?
I'm just explaining what the practice is, but no, I'm
Okay.
not asking if you want to change it.
Do you see a need to change it?
Are you asking me, Tim, or Lacey?
I'm asking you.
No, I think that's worked out really well for us.
Okay.
Okay.
Is there a decision point where we need to renew that decision point, or is the practice just staying as is until we decide to do something different? Like, does it expire?
The practice, no. Everything has changed with inter-district transfers when the state moved to open enrollment. And so then we just went to a time duration rather than a limit on numbers.
Okay,
Mhm. Go ahead.
Sorry, I just wanted to make sure if we needed to make a decision tonight to keep something going, that we did that. So, okay. That's
Nope.
great. Okay. All right. So the next item is school board appreciation. And I just wanted to thank Marilyn for delivering some cards to each of us. She has spent some time out of her day doing that, and I appreciated that very much.
My pleasure. I got to see everyone face to face. So that was wonderful.
Did you find everybody?
I did.
Good.
Everyone. Yep. That was a lot of fun.
Awesome. All right. Thank you for doing that, Marilyn. And thank you to all the staff and teachers that signed the cards. That was really nice.
Well, we have multiple modes of delivery for the school board of the messages from the district. And first, I think we're saying January is Board Appreciation Month. And we, the Creswell School District staff and students, appreciate each of you and your service to the Creswell community. Thank you for taking precious time away from your families, hobbies, work, and vacations to do this very important work for our school and kids, our schools and kids. Your endless support makes the Creswell School District a great place to both work and learn. We have a video. Our communication expert, Julie Ward, produced the video. She's a production artist now. And we have a video for the school board that we want to show you that expresses our deepest appreciation for the work that you do for us. Joel, do you have that video to play?
I do. So I'm going to share my screen and
Okay.
start this video. Enjoy. All right. Do you see, what screen do you see? Do you see the, let's hope you see the right one.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we see the thank you.
Okay, great, thanks. And of course it has to buffer.
Thank you. Thank you, school board.
Oh, kids.
Joel, what's happening with the bot, with the, we don't have any audio there.
Helping us with all the stuff that you do and letting us go to school.
You have it now?
Yeah,
Yeah.
can you start over.
Okay, so let me start it over if you didn't catch the beginning. Sorry about that. I only play a tech service guy during the day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh,
The audio went out again.
yeah, it's buffering. It was working there a second, honest.
Thank you.
Thank you, school board. We sound like robots.
Thank you, school board. That's better.
Thank you, school board members, for all that you do for our community.
Thank you for helping us with all the stuff that you do and letting us go to school.
Thank you for volunteering your time and putting so much effort into making school the best it can be for our students.
We appreciate your help. Thank you for being here and supporting us. Thank you for having us have great teachers. Thank you for everything you've done for us.
Thank you so much for all that you do for our students in Creswell. We really appreciate you here at Creswell Middle School.
Thank you for letting us do fun things and learn and
Just want to say thank you to all the school board members. I know this year's been really tough for your jobs as well, and I appreciate you guys' time and effort and energy that you put in to make Creswell School District a better district.
Thank you for helping us have the best education we can in Creswell.
Thank you, school board, for your time and dedication to our school districts. Your support is much appreciated.
Thank you for sharing your time to help other kids learn.
Thank you for your time and energy to make our school better.
I am so thankful for all that you do. It's when somebody says, what do you have to say for the board members? That's a loaded question because there is so much that you do to keep us going, keep us moving, keep our schools running, to support us, to support our schools, to support our communities. And I am so appreciative.
Thank you for putting your hat in the ring and running for election and being a part of our district leadership. We appreciate so much what you guys do. It's a recognition well received and well earned. Thank you.
As always, thank you so much for all you do for our students and staff. And I so appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for all your hard work.
Our Creswell Board of Directors. Hey, you know I love you guys, but more than that, I appreciate you. I appreciate you for supporting me. I appreciate you for the high ethical characteristics that you possess. I believe you are of the finest people that I've ever met. I thank you for your commitment and your dedication to the school district, all that you do for the community, but much more than that, for everything that you do for our kids. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, that makes it worth it.
Let me get back to not sharing anymore.
And that's a cut.
That is a cut.
Thank you. Thank you, Julie, for putting that together. That was a lovely video. It was very touching.
Oh, we wish we could all do it in person, but I hope each of you knows how grateful we are for the time, energy, and investment that you make each and every week for these kids. I said, we appreciate you stepping up and taking this on. I said, all of the things that are happening in our schools wouldn't be possible without your assistance. So thank you.
Well, we love Creswell and our kids just as much as you guys do. So that's why we're here. All right. So Joel, we're still seeing your screen.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Is it kind of stuck? Okay.
Yeah. Apparently, like I said, it's after 5.
That's all right. That's all right. That was fantastic. I really appreciate everybody's effort that went into that. All right, we will keep moving on. All right, under trustee reports, why don't I'll just go through the screen as you guys appear. Not that you guys know how you guys appear on my screen. We'll go Tim and then Mike. Tim, why don't you chat about what you've been up to or learned or read over the last month?
Boy, being on break and district-wise, I really haven't been involved in the district. And as far as community events and district events, I've stayed away because of the Omicron. So I really haven't been involved. So this next month, I hope to find a listing of basketball and actually go to something. So hold me to that. I intend to go.
Thanks, Tim. I know with how much that Omicron is spreading through our community, it is hard to get out there and do that. So that's just fine. Plus, a lot of things are being canceled. Mike, what about you?
In the last month or so, I've been to a basketball game and a Lane ESD meeting, and then I missed the last meeting because of a family issue that we knew was going to happen. But no, hopefully I've got a couple, 3 weeks of vacation coming up, and then I have a little more time to get a little more involved. But
okay.
Games are a lot of fun to go to.
Yeah. Yeah, they are. Ashley, what about you? And then Mark.
I am doing the food for kids deliveries with Lacey. I believe I only did one in December, did our leadership meeting. And then I got to do a couple really fun things. I wanted to make sure that the board recognizes Miss Catherine Dumas at the Student Resource Center. I got to witness firsthand the love from the community, the Sponsor a Family program that she does for all the kids. And oh my gosh, that I don't know if you guys have seen the resource center. It's the old library or computer lab there by the library, and that thing was busting at the seams. It was flowing out into the lobby of Crest Lane. There was bikes and boxes, and it was so touching to go in there and see all that going on. So if you see her, you know she's an amazing young lady, and she does so much for our community. So I really wanted to shout out to her. And then I also got to do a fun event. I don't know if you guys know that the Santa Pack does an event or a contest every year where they do an art contest. So kiddos get to enter an art contest, and I think it's maybe just for 4th and 5th graders. And it's all the rural schools, Pleasant Hill, Veneta, Creswell. And one of our 5th graders actually won the contest in Miss Dean's class, and I got to go to the unveiling of the garbage truck and watch the whole presentation. It was very cool. And so shout out to Miss Dean for always getting her kiddos to participate in that. I guess she's had several kids in her class have been winners over the years, and my 5th grader was the winner. So it was very exciting. If you see a Santa Pack truck with Chloe Miller on the side, you know, it's pretty exciting for her to have that there. So that's what I've been up to.
That's fantastic. Thank you for sharing. Mark?
There we go. Yeah, I haven't done a lot out in the school district because of the break and things, but it is School Board Appreciation, and I just wanted to pass on how much I appreciate working with this board in this school district. I get constant emails from OSBA and OE, you know, the Oregon Department of Education, and there are a lot of seriously dysfunctional school district and school boards out in our lovely state of Oregon. And it just makes me appreciate the folks that we have here, and what I know how cohesive we seem to be and how we work to do the best for our kids. Because you know what, when your school board is fighting amongst themselves or fighting with their superintendent or fighting with the community, they're not doing what's best for kids. They're concentrating on other stuff. And I just want to pass on my appreciation to my fellow board members and our superintendent, and of course, Miss Cruzan and Mr. Higdon for their, and everybody, you know, I could stand here and list them all, but you know, those have to be the ones on my screen that I can see. So I was planning on going to the drama play tomorrow at the high school. Is that still on? Can somebody answer that?
We're taking a look at that to see if we can, if we limit the participants, 2 per kid, what that will allow us as far as distancing. And then if that gives us plenty, then what would 3 per kid do for us? And then of course, if the numbers hit hard in the kids, then we'll have to cancel it. So right now, those kinds of events are a little bit risky as far as, you know, spread. So Jenny and Brandon were looking at that, and they're going to get back to me with a number, what they're thinking about for numbers as far as our guests at the event. So,
okay. Thanks, sir.
Debbie?
I have been able to attend a couple of the boys basketball games and girls basketball games because I have been working in concessions. I did get to go to one of the middle school wrestling duels, which was really exciting. I went to Pleasant Hill this weekend and watched our high schoolers wrestle, and our girls team did phenomenal. They took 2nd place in the tournament. We had a booster meeting this last week. We are getting ready for our auction. We're going to make it happen this year, one way or another. And then tomorrow I'm heading to Redmond to go to the Oregon Classic. So we're going to watch our little kids and our middle schoolers wrestle over there. So yeah, pretty busy, but having fun out there doing it all.
That's fantastic. I'm glad those sports are still able to continue. I thought I had seen that we were canceling some basketball games this week.
I think they are canceled this week.
Okay. Okay. All right. I'm glad the wrestling is still going on. All right. And Mark, I echo what you say. I am so thankful that we are staying as a board focused on Creswell issues. I think that will help us. In terms of what I've been doing for the past month, I participate in IRC, so I read with first graders each Friday, and that is always super good for me. I learn tons from Mrs. Mercer on each Friday. I go about a half an hour early and I just watch how she works with the first graders in order to keep them on task, because during my hour of reading, they are not on as task as they are with her. So that's my goal by the end of the year. If I can just learn that for 1 hour, I'll be golden. I do meal delivery with Ashley, and that's a very valuable program at our leadership meeting. And then I just wanted to let you guys know that OSBA is starting a monthly meeting they're calling it the OSBA Chair Cafe. And so I had forwarded that invitation to Ashley to join if she wanted to with me. And I joined for the first time today. They're bringing together the board chairs, whoever can attend, and essentially having a 1 hour conversation. They've got some OSBA folks there so that we can ask questions around, okay, this popped up in our meeting, how do we handle that? Or this is happening in our community, how do we handle that? And then we hear what other districts are doing in response to that as well. So I attended the first one today. It was pretty good. I didn't submit any questions because I wasn't quite sure what to expect. But they were covering topics. Probably the largest one was around public comment. And I think for the boards that are in person, they're spending hours on public comment and hearing people. And then there was a very good segment on just making sure that we are supporting our superintendent and making sure that as a board, we have one voice with our superintendent, not 5 or 6 or 7, because there is an increasing number of vacancies with superintendents retiring, and just different things that we can do to help support our superintendent. So that was all good. So I'll continue to go as long as they're at noon. And for the most part, I can get time off of work in order to go during the noon hour or log in during the noon hour. And I'll just continue to report out the different, topics, or if there's any key takeaways from this little 1 hour conversation. So just wanted to share that was there. All right, I think that is it for trustee reports. We will move on to business manager. Were there any questions around any of the financials included in the packet? Mike, I had just noticed that I think I mentioned this last time too, Fund 275 is forecasted to be a deficit. And I think Chanel had mentioned last time that we're expecting a transfer. It just hasn't transferred yet. So I'm assuming that's the same case. Forecasted deficit isn't a surprise. Okay, all right. All right. Moving on to the technology and facilities. Any questions for Joel? Where were the roof leaks?
Yeah, I'd like Joel to talk about, we have 2 roofs leaking right now.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had to move a classroom to the other side of the hall, and wanted to update the board on where we're at with those facilities.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we had in the 4th and 5th grade hall, which is the oldest section of the Creswell Elementary School. I'll cut to the chase and say that those roofs are actually going to be replaced with a seismic grant. So that actually is a good thing for us, but it doesn't help us with the here and now with the situation that occurred. We had, 4 inches of snow sitting on a flat roof. It sat there for quite a while. Then you had it melt. Then you had a Sunday of 2 inches of rain and then continuous rain. And we had a leak around the windows and right at the roof line in the windows coming down. And it impacted this classroom pretty severely. And so we had to make a decision for the welfare of the students and the staff that used the room to move her down the hall, just 2 doors down or 3 doors down. It wasn't a very big move, but it physically it wasn't a very big move, but emotionally it's a big move. You don't typically move a teacher in a class mid-year. And so it was actually, if I could have captured in video and captured the moment of how we were able to do it, we made the decision on a Tuesday, and on Wednesday with the earlier release, we had the opportunity to pull together all the staff, and we had more staff than we could use actually. And we moved her, the whole entire staff of Crest Lane moved her. And by the end of that day, that classroom that had been not in use as a classroom got transformed back to a classroom with bulletin boards that looked as good as what she had in her previous room. And it was really quite impressive. And it's interesting too, I will note that teachers can be a type A personality. So when you have a room of several type A personality teachers working on a bulletin board, that's kind of fun and interesting to watch too. But it was really inspiring to see how they pulled together. And those students the next day, I visited with the teacher later the next day, and they were really excited that their desks were back where, it may have been a new room with a new look, as far as out the windows and what have you, but it was really impressive. So the teacher's in place for the rest of the year in that space. And we feel like that was a good move, an appropriate move. The classroom is now being used as a lunch room because that's what the room she moved into was, a lunch room. And so we have dried out the timbers. We've confirmed that the temporary patch we put on the roof is holding. And we've dried it out because there was always concern, like if you leave moisture, you're going to have stuff that you don't want to have grow. And so they have dried out. There is some construction pieces that I need to still tie into a board that I want to remove because I want to see what's behind that board, just in case there's trapped water there. But I am looking forward to the idea that whole roof is being replaced. The cafeteria roof is being replaced, the district office roof is being replaced, and those 2 wings are being replaced. So we really don't want to spend a lot of money doing work on a roof that's going to practically be replaced, but we do also want to be safe. And so our patch is working and holding. The second leak has actually been an recurring leak that is going to be addressed when the weather improves. And that is our second gym at Creswell High School. That gym is actually the newest gym at Creswell High School. It was built in 2003, and that roof is actually not ever been replaced. So it's at its end of its life cycle, the membrane roof, and we've noticed a leak on the gym floor. And as you guys can imagine, you never want to have water on a gym floor. And so we have spill kits in place, and we collect the water when it does leak through. We've had a roofing company assess it with us. I do feel good that the roofing company basically agreed with they 100% agreed with what we already assessed, was that the membrane roof was at its tail end and needs to be either replaced or repaired. And so we're looking at our options on that, and I'll have more information about that as time progresses, and I'll share some more information with you in future board reports. But in the meanwhile, we do have spill kits in place. I'm working with the day custodians and the evening custodians to make sure that when we have rain in the forecast, that we have those kits out, so that if rain is dropping, if it's coming through the roof, it gets caught there. It's not one particular spot that's leaking. Unfortunately, membrane roofs tend to, when they tend to go collectively. They don't go in one spots. And there's not a lot of seams on that roof. But it is an issue that we're addressing, and we're addressing it by keeping the water off the floor as best we can, but we do have a plan in place to make repairs to the roof, more permanent repairs or long-term repairs, but we have to have fair weather to do that. I think I captured where most of the leaks are. We had a few incidental leaks that happened across the district because, we have several age difference of buildings. We have a building that's 2009 all the way back to 1939. And so we have quite a few different aging of roofs, but we don't have any roofs that are 1939, mind you, but we do have some roofs that are old. And but those are the two major leaks that we've been dealing with and keeping a close eye on. And as always, we want to make sure that our students are safe and our patrons and our staff are safe. And so we make these decisions never in a vacuum. We always do it collectively, but we do it with the first thought of safety in mind. Any questions regarding all that? A lot of information.
Yeah, and bottom line with that is that by the end of this summer, Creswell or Crestling will be from west to east, will be in really solid, good shape structurally as a building and aesthetically too. A lot of the outside is going to change with that construction in its appearance. The one building, however, that hasn't had those improvements, that continues to deteriorate, is the high school.
It's true. And I will say that the high school is wanting to expand a lot of things with their shop. There's a lot of opportunity in that facility. And so I think it's a conversation that's worth continuing to have and looking at what we can do with that high school and the abilities to continue to expand. And you get to a certain point of limitation with what you currently have in place, and yet you have students in a curriculum that wants to continue to grow. And so at some point, your facilities have to catch up to your curriculum and to catch up with your programs. A more modern metal shop, for example, needs to have a modern shop to accommodate a modern metal shop. That's a lot of twisting words there. But anyway, those type of opportunities and conversations is very worth having and continuing to have. And I'm excited about what can be happening for Creswell High School and for the entire district.
Thank you, Joel.
Thank you.
So what is the plan for replacing that roof? Do we have funding to do that?
So the high school roof, so it'll be, we're getting some preliminary numbers right now. It's to do a repair that would last a couple of years or more would be in the $40,000 range. To do a tear off and repair of a new membrane roof would be 6 figures and probably closer to 200,000. So we're looking at all the options and looking at one route would be an RFP, another route might be a request for quotes, a different avenue that you might go. And I'm collecting all that information now. I will definitely keep you abreast, keep you posted on that information as we go. And so I'll have more information to share with that in future board reports. Primarily right now, we really can't do much other than gather information, and it's not really safe to be on the roof anyway with, the roof is not sloped real bad, but we shouldn't be on the roof too much. So we're kind of in a hold tight and wait, but I do have some information, but we'll just keep plugging away. Did that answer your question? I hope.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm assuming there's not a structural issue if that roof is that wet and saturated everywhere.
Yeah, it's not. So what it is you have, you don't have much space. So if you've ever been in that gym, there's a membrane roof. There's only about this much space between it and the steel raftering, the steel pieces that are underneath the roof. And so what's really tricky too about a membrane roof is you can get water underneath the membrane too. And then it will always, water, I have a phrase I like to use when it comes to roof leaks: water always finds a way, meaning it always finds a way to get into your building. And so when you see a leak, especially with a membrane roof in a gym, it may not be where the leak is on the roof. And so that's a concern, and that's an issue that we'll look at and try to address. But structurally, the steel of that roof is quite intact. It's really well. That's a tipped up cement building. Tipped up meaning they literally poured the cement on the ground and tipped up 40 feet walls. It was quite, I wish I still had my pictures of when the crane tipped that gym up. So structurally that gym is in really, really good shape. It's just the roof itself, the membrane roof itself needs to be addressed.
Is that a PVC roof?
You know, it may be. I'd have to look. I don't have my notes in front of me, but I could certainly, when I have that information.
I was just curious, but you're right. Having done many roofs, water likes to migrate, and where it's coming in is not where it's going down.
Right.
It makes it extremely hard to find.
It is. It really is. And manufacturing and the material that's used in the membrane is different now than it was in 2003, 2004. So real quickly, though, circling back to what Mike talked to about the remodel and the work that's happening with the seismic grant, I'm excited about in the coming months to share some visionary information. Looking at just today, just this week, started looking at the 100% construction, the 50% construction drawings, which are really exciting to look at. We have some concept drawings for the district office look that Mike and I are looking at. So that will be making its way through a board report for you guys to see as well. So I didn't mean to switch gears from the gym, but I just wanted to cap on to the idea that you guys will be informed on that stuff. And it's pretty exciting to see the work that's going to happen with the seismic. Some of that will be picked up through seismic. Some of it might get picked up through our general fund if it's not directly seismic related, but we have an opportunity to make an improvement. If the wall is already being tore in and the seismic pays for the wall to be tore out and X to be done, if it's only an extra $5,000 to do one thing, let's do that extra thing while the wall is open, that type of stuff. So there might be a few things like that happening, but I'll share all that information with you in my board reports as we keep plugging away.
Thanks, Joe.
You bet.
Just real quick, there were no leaks at the middle school, right?
Nothing.
No. So,
I just was checking. I mean, it's a pretty new roof. I just wanted to make sure.
We covered.
Yeah. So what's interesting?
We covered the last leak with $400,000.
I know.
Yeah,
I just
we
wanted
did.
to make sure.
That one's
Yeah,
covered.
we did. That leak at the roof at the middle school was replaced, and that was a pretty extensive repair. But what's interesting is that gym at the middle school actually at one point we thought had a leak, but it wasn't. It was such an airtight space that the moisture that was, this is going to sound gross, but it is nature and the way life works. The moisture that was coming down, we figured out was actually condensation from everybody who was in the room, hitting that steel structure at the top, hitting the solid membrane and consolidating and making its way back down on the floor. So
we need to spread those kids out.
We
need to spread those kids out if that's happening.
Yeah, that was 2 years ago, 3 years ago
Okay.
that was going on. But I thought it was weird because we're thinking this is too new of a roof. I mean, we knew we had our other issues at the middle school, but the gym itself, and we realized the gym is a solid roof. The condensation was an issue, and it hasn't happened since then. And it's because we've addressed and we're doing things different with how we use the space and how PE is handled and stuff. So a good example of facilities and curriculum and features and everybody were coming together to problem solve, and we did that 3 years ago. But I don't know why I shared that story other than the fact that it was just an interesting side note to sometimes you think you have a water leak and it's other things.
Your job is always bringing you something you hadn't seen before, isn't it, Joel?
Yeah, it's another chapter in my book I'm writing. I'm going to retire with a book.
One last quick question. I'm assuming that water leak at the high school gym is keeping the gym from being used?
No, actually, we're working we work with Brandon, and what we do is we've also worked with the coaches. We move the spill kit back out of the way. They're able to practice, they're able to have PE, and then we move things back into play.
Okay.
So yeah, we're still able to use the space.
That's good.
And yeah, no, that is, actually, it kind of dovetailed to what I just said, a cooperation with facilities and custodial and our teaching staff and our students too, recognizing that when they move something, they need to put it back. Don't leave the bucket where it's there. Put it back where you found it.
Yeah, good. All right, fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joel. We appreciate that information. All right, next report. Amy, I really appreciated the detail on the language art adoption process. Are there any questions for Amy? I appreciated seeing that you've got all schools represented through that, and that certainly implies we're going to have a curriculum that will be district-wide, right? Across all schools, we'll have the same curriculum. So that's pretty
Well,
exciting.
Maybe not the same curriculum, but there
Okay.
will be some crossover in terms of how they support one another. And so we are not certain yet if we're going to do like a K-5 or, then 6-12. We're not sure how those will all connect, but we will dive into that further. And next week we'll be looking at developing the rubric and then actually getting to go through curriculum on the 28th at the ESD. So we're super excited about that process.
Fantastic. Any other comments or questions for Amy?
Amy, would you mind going just briefly describing how you put the team together so they can see how this is a K-12? So
Yeah, sure. I can do a quick synopsis of that. So we did do a district-wide call for staff K-12 from a variety of areas. You can see that we pulled from special education. We were looking at our English language learning population, general education. We wanted to get a group of staff that covered each grade level. And so we broke up the elementary building into that K2 and then 3-5, and then obviously middle and high school team. So we really tried to pull together a diverse team. Our first meeting, we had all of us together running through some professional development, helping equip our team with the latest and greatest of rubrics, tools, research, et cetera, regarding reading and research, and then broke into our grade level or school teams, depending. And we had an administrator working with each of those teams. So our elementary team, actually we have Summer and Amy Halley both working with a grade level team, which is pretty great. And so as I mentioned, we'll be jumping into building off of the work that team has done. There was some homework involved to some degree, for lack of better words, for the team to be working on as they build up their capacity and understanding what really makes a great curriculum and what does CSD need from that curriculum. And so we took some alignment from the district goals and the vision statements that were set a few years ago when we got to do that great work in person with Mike, and jumped off of there in terms of how we can support that vision and mission in the district.
Thank you.
Sure.
Well, that'll be great to get our language arts curriculum updated and usable and aligning with state standards. And I know that's got to be a lot of work on top of everything else teachers are trying to manage right now.
It's a load.
Yeah.
It's a load
Yeah.
for Amy too. I mean, it is a lift, but such committed people. They just couldn't wait to get to this work. Honest, no kidding. They have more people asked to be on these teams than we could facilitate.
Yeah, just in my anecdotal conversations I've had with teachers, they have, over the last few months, I've asked them, like, what about the language arts adoption? Is that something that will help with, just any of all the time stuff that they talk about? And they go, absolutely. Having a curriculum that will be between the classes the same, aligned with state standards. So it's the one common thing every teacher that I've anecdotally talked to has said, yep, that one is a worthwhile effort. Like, we need it. So I'm glad that's getting started.
Could I say one more quick thing just to piggyback
Absolutely.
on what Ashley had shared as a highlight? But Catherine, I know this team always raves about the work that Catherine Dumas gets to do for the district and our families, but she did report back some of the numbers. And we were able to support 88 families in our community. 221 children were able to walk away with a gift, or at least be provided a gift by their family. There were 28 sponsors. She had so many donations financially as well as with gifts. $1,500 worth of donations to Food for Kids. Lots of toy donations from KNND, Mike Sharp, Toys for Tots, Creswell First, and the Creswell community in general, but just an amazing outpouring of support. I know Ashley noted that as she was sharing, but it was pretty phenomenal.
That family resource center that she is managing is just so crucial to our school district. So I'm so glad that we have her and have all the services that she kind of brings together for the families. All right, Mike, I think we are up to you.
Okay.
Superintendent report.
All right, well, you can see the list of activities that I've been involved in through the month. And in there, in coming up with procedures and protocols for dealing with COVID and all that, it really doesn't show on this list of activities, but there's a lot of work that goes into that with this whole team across the district, this A team. And when we make one shift, it ripples through the entire team. Everyone has a piece of that to roll out in their departments or their schools. So just know that we are really focused on this on a daily basis. We're communicating about it. There's sometimes a little too early in the day, 3 o'clock in the morning. That's, the texts start coming through. Amy was up last night or this morning at 2 o'clock in the morning, problem solving some of the issues that we're having with the numbers of tests that we're providing for our kids and such, and how to facilitate that. And it just kind of rolled into 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and then meetings this morning to make things go smoothly in our buildings and to provide the support and care that we can for our kids and our staff. You saw my letter that went out to the community about our response to Omicron and the surge that we're experiencing here in our district. And our district is a reflection of the community. So, we're seeing a third of our kids that are sick right now. Well, that would be a third of our families out in the community or more. It just mirrors what's happening out there in the larger landscape. Before I go into any of that, did any of you have any questions about about the letter that we sent out today about how we're approaching this? So each morning and evening before I go home, I'm getting numbers on absences for staff, how many we have that day, how many staff are reporting in the evening that they're going to be absent the following day, so that I can track when a staff member goes on leave sick and then look for the 5 to 7 day window of when they might return, how long they could be out. That way I can track how many staff are out on a daily basis that I can see by them reporting in. Now, during the day, 1 or 2 might go home sick. That could happen. So I have to anticipate that we might have to absorb another couple of vacancies somewhere in the district, in the classrooms. So anyway, that's how I'm monitoring the staff, and if we have enough staff to facilitate or continue operations with our schools. In regards to the students, Monday, we were hit really hard. I think we had 260 students across the district that on Monday were out or going out, or combined. That's the number. And then yesterday, about 30 or 40, and today, even less, about 20. When I look back to the trends that we were dealing with the Delta surge, same pattern. So I was hoping that it would be the same with this one, just a different magnitude because of the numbers. But with the Delta surge, after every weekend or after every holiday, the first day back to school, whether it was Monday or the next day after a holiday, was our highest number of kids that we tested positive and then had to do contact tracing to send home. And then Tuesday, it would go down a little bit and it would continue to decline throughout the week and then start back up again on Monday or the next day after a holiday weekend. And so true to form, that's what we're seeing through today. So tomorrow we'll see less numbers. When we come back after a long weekend, we're going to have kids returning that went out this week, Monday, Tuesday. They'll be coming back on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and we'll have a new wave of kids going out. So we'll see how that exchange comes in, but I'm anticipating that we're going to be right around this 300 to 350 number for a few weeks, starting on, that's just going to stay steady. And I believe that's predictable. It could go either way. It could be lower, it could be a little bit higher. But the one that isn't predictable is what's going to happen with the staff, because I can't predict adult behavior on the weekends. We can control what happens in this environment. That's why we have so many kids quarantined. When we quarantine that many kids, or when we quarantine kids and staff, that means that we're moving it outside of this environment to make this environment safer. So the spread isn't happening here. We've had very few cases where the spread originated, or an outbreak originated in the school since the beginning of this, because we have all these layers in place to protect against contracting or spreading the virus here in the schools. So we'll get staff back next week, and we'll lose a couple next week. We'll just keep on the same exchange. It's just relative to the number that we have of staff. So right around that 20% mark with staff, and right around 30 to 35% mark with our kids. That's what we should be seeing for the next couple of weeks. If things get out of hand and that virus spreads faster because people aren't protecting themselves and they contract this disease, then we'll have to go to those two, the measures that I mentioned in the letter. And the first one would be the pause. So if I look at a 2-day pause joined to a weekend, either 2 days before or 2 days after, that'll give us 4 days to let things settle down and people heal up to come back. So our numbers of attendance will go up, and we'll be able to bring our staff back if that happens within that 4 days. Because it takes 2 or 3 days. The disease is incubated for 2 to 3 days before symptoms appear. Then you have 4 days or so when it's contagious, and then the recovery when it's not contagious and coming out of the whole the illness. So that's how I get the 4 days in there. For the 2 to 3 days of the incubation, that's 7, and they should be out of it coming into that 8th day. If they're not, then they're going to be most likely in, receiving medical assistance in a hospital. That's what I've seen. So that's kind of the down and dirty on my thinking behind that, and the strategies that I'm applying, and how I'm arriving at those two procedures that I might implement. The remote learning, we would go to 2 days, at least 2 days minimum of closing our schools. We need 1 day to get teachers up and going with preparing their online curriculum, and another day for distribution of devices. 3 would be optimal and the maximum that we need. 2 is the minimum. So whatever we do, I'll have to preserve 3 days, regardless, 3 days, so that we can go into remote learning at any point, because I don't know what's going to happen 4 weeks down the road or 5 weeks down the road. And if I use all 5 of our emergency days to settle things down within these first couple of weeks, then any days we close school to get online down the road, we're going to have to add to the end of the year. We have 2 winter events projected or forecasted to come back in at the end of January, maybe the beginning of February. So I have to look at emergency days that may need to be used during those times as well. So there's a lot of planning that goes into how to use these emergency days and when is the best time to put them in to implement them. So those are just a few thoughts that are in my head. Yes,
I have a couple questions. And the first one you just answered about making up days, the emergency days. That was one of my concerns. The other question I had was around the quarantining piece. I know it's really muddy out there. Who's supposed to be quarantining for? It doesn't seem very clear, at least to me. Are the teachers following the same quarantine schedule as the kids, which is if they're exposed, it's, 5 days test to stay. And then if they're positive, it's 10 days. Is that the same schedule for the teachers?
Currently, if they're fully vaccinated, they don't have to quarantine if they're exposed. They're fully vaccinated. They don't have to quarantine unless they have symptoms. As first day of symptoms, then they go into quarantine. If they're positive, they're in isolation for 10 days.
Okay.
Anybody, everybody.
Yeah.
My question is, I know that in the public sector, we can't find a test anywhere. How is the supply looking for you?
Yeah. So we have an order in, and we were, and this is out to OHA, and that order was supposed to be delivered on Monday. It didn't show up, and then it was supposed to be overnighted. I haven't heard about it. I reached out to the superintendents in Lane County, and Sayusala shipped us 150 tests for in school, and we'll get those tomorrow at 8:30 in the morning. So we'll have those tests. That's enough to get us through the next week or two. Well, maybe the next week. But by then, this overnight shipment or this shipment from OHA should be coming in, I hope. The second thing is iHealth. iHealth is a testing system out there that's just been rolled out by the federal government. And iHealth is a testing procedure that can be conducted at home, a test that can be given at home by parents. I submitted an application to get our distribution of those, or to get an allocation of those tests, so that we can send take-home tests with parents and have them available for them. So I'm anticipating that we'll get somewhere between 600 and 1,000 of those to be able to send home to parents. And the turnaround on those is supposed to be pretty quick. So within a week or so, we should have those. So if we get the home tests, and then we get our shipment of what we've asked for our school test, our Binox tests, we'll be in really good shape. So that's where we're at with the tests.
Thanks, Mike.
You bet. And the iHealth testing was just communicated to us on Monday. So Monday night, I was able to submit our application for those. So we're in the first group in.
I think that's great. And a huge thank you to Sayusla for sharing some of those tests of theirs to help us through this crunch. That's a fantastic partnership.
Yeah. We owe Andy. I'll take care of them.
We'll pass on our thanks as well.
I'll do that.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, good. If you do, just email me or text me, either one, and I'll get back to you. It's I should probably explain the 5 and 5. Just kind of give you an overview. You know, the CDC rolled out the 5-day quarantine, 5-day isolation, and then the 5-day masking or continued isolation. That whole procedure was a mess. They released it, and it wasn't really the guidelines. The guidance didn't go with it. And so OHA brought that in and worked with some guidance to send out to local health authorities. Lane County Public Health hasn't rolled out the guidance to Lane County districts yet. We know the outline or the framework of it. So I'm putting together a procedure to send out with that. But that is advisory. It's not required. What was in the statute for vaccinations is the law. That's what's required. So we'll take and use this 5-day, 5 and 5 to our advantage, but not to the point of where we're risking the health and safety of our staff and students and our families at home. So I have to really examine that whole situation there, that guidance and our current procedures to see what works best for us. If we do send kids home on a quarantine, or for 5 days because they've had close contact, we'd want to do similarly the same procedure that we do currently with a contact, and that is they have an option to take a test on day 7 to return on day 8. If they get a negative test, they can return on day 8. If we were quarantining them with the 5 and 5, if we tested them on day 5 and they were negative, then they could come in back on day 6. That's how I'm looking at it. That's not in the advisory, it's an option, but that's the option that I think would be safest for us. And if the parents didn't want to go that route, then they could take the 10-day quarantine. If they didn't want to test to come back. So they get choice, and we have an opportunity to bring kids back sooner. So I think it's a win for both. But it's the safest route, I believe. I should be pulling that procedure together by Friday, and my goal is to have that out Friday night so that we see that next week. And we have that as a procedure that we can follow. Working on it.
Mike, I know you and your team must be burning the candle at both ends just to keep the district open, and I really appreciate that. We all appreciate everything you and the teachers are doing and the principals in order to cover every vacancy that seems to pop up. So thank you for working so hard.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I'll take that for the team. Mm-hmm. Those principals and teachers, I mean, they are really running hard, and I know they're tired of every day. I mean, they're putting together their coverage plans for tomorrow based on the absences that are reported today, and or wherever we don't have subs for tomorrow. Amy Aguero and I are the last line of defense, so to speak. We're available to go and cover the holes. And when we get to that point where we're being utilized in the schools, if one of us goes down, then we're pretty much out. So that means we're at the end of it where our staff is all impacted in there, and we can't cover operations. Aguero, did you have something to mention on that?
No, I'm just wishing well wishes for all of us.
Yes, yes.
That's how I've got this, we have this set up right now. But thank you.
Yeah. All right. Anything else to ask Mike? Okay, I think that was the last thing on our agenda.
Can I mention one more thing?
Absolutely.
Just a little bit on the World Track Championships that are coming up in the summer. We're currently in negotiations with Finland. Lon Robertson is with them, and we kind of landed on a fee for their use of our facilities, and that fee will then be our budget for preparing the facilities for those Olympic standard athletes coming in. So we're real close right now. Comfort Inn kind of bagged on us. It's not easy working with Comfort Inn, I hear from Lon. And so they've had to look for B&Bs to accommodate their athletes, but Finland really wants to be in Creswell, so we're happy and pleased that they do. We'll try to get this tied up.
That is very exciting.
Yeah.
And what a fun country to have.
Well, right now we're looking at all of them. Any of them are fun. We'll take them all.
That's fantastic.
It's a big honor, and I really appreciate Lon and the work that he's doing on this. He's working hard at it.
That's fantastic. Well, that's a fun update to end on. Don't add anything negative after that, Mike. Leave it at there.
I'm done.
All right. I think that is it. We will call it a night. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate you being here. All right.